around this topic, community outreach. We know this is an important topic for our customers. At last year's ProjectDox user group meeting in Boca Raton, it was a topic of interest and a lot of discussion during the sessions if you happened to attend PDUG last year. And so, you know, it's an important topic. And what I'd like to do is start off by with just sort of setting the stage before I introduce our special guest speaker. And I'd like to set the stage with a brief video. It's about 5 minutes. But this video is important for a couple of reasons. One, it represents the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, the organization that our speaker hails from. So it will give you some overview of what they do and how they use ProjectDox and what it means to them. So just from that perspective, it's a good introduction. But I think second, and just as important, it's an example of the kind of work that those customers who are really out in front in driving both internal and external adoption, it's an example of the kind of work that they've done to increase the assimilation of ProjectDox inside their organization and in their community at large. So let me start by playing this video. I'll say up front that the audio portion would be played through the phone. We've tested it and think it's okay, but you may have a little bit of difficult time hearing it.
Gone are the days when one has to pick up the telephone and call and say, where is my plan in the process?
Permit Services, this is Lisa. Also gone are the days of engineers hand-delivering huge stacks of plans to WSSC, then waiting weeks for multiple departments to review and comment.
At times, you might not have been able to read the handwriting of the plans reviewer. Also, plan comments could get lost in different versions of the plan.
Morgan Edders, a project engineer with Loiterman Soltez in Rockville, is thrilled that ePlan Review has come to WSSC.
It was extremely smooth transitioning into the electronic submission.
Let's look at the second review. ePlan Review using ProjectDox is an electronic plans review technology that we're using to review water and sewer plans.
Applicants send a project submittal request to WSSC along with review fees. The applicant is then invited via email to join the ePlan review system.
It's extremely easy to use. All your drawings and documents are in one section.
Nick Speech, a design engineer with Bowler Engineering in Bowie, is amazed by the convenience.
Easy system to be able to hop on the computer, open up the documents. You see exactly where you need to change things. You don't have to resubmit a huge package every time you get a comment letter back.
So to upload files to WSSC's ePlan Review, you click Upload Files, you click on your drawing, open it, and then Upload Now. Literally 4 clicks.
Prior to ePlan Review,
I would have had to print approximately 100 of these sheets and put together a package approximately the size of this and send somebody to WSSC 45 minutes to Laurel, so driving in traffic.
And that was just to submit the original plan. It would then take WSSC weeks to pass the plans from department to department for comment.
Documents get lost, and they're difficult to find, and we don't know who made the last note on them.
ePlan Review eliminates all those headaches.
And the great benefit about this system is that it allows for concurrent reviews.
Saving engineers more than a month of waiting for their plans to be reviewed and approved.
We had to go from 8 weeks to actually 2 to 3 weeks.
Cut down on having to decipher red lines. Things are a lot cleaner.
You can click on the markup, and this other window comes up, and it shows you the 3 departments, or however many departments actually commented on that sheet.
We have assigned colors to every department markup for the drawings.
On this comment right here, we look on the side here, and I made a comment in regards to the drainage basin name. It also tells you who made the comment, the date, and the time the comment was made. So it gives a bit of transparency to the outside engineer and the developer.
It definitely helps between myself and the reviewer to be able to get to a common solution quicker than having to necessarily go down and meet or, go through a project and have 17 paper copies. You can just quickly click next sheet, and go over comments that way. We had a conference call with our client and with the reviewer, and we were able to jump on ProjectDox.
In terms of the green initiative, one of our stars.
The paper that's being reduced is monumental here at WSSC.
According to ProjectDox's Green Calculator, 100 site utility plans submitted to WSSC through e-plan review are saving applicants 80,000 drawing sheets. That's 5 tons of paper, killing 13 fewer trees. And that's just site utility plans. As more and more types of projects are converted to the e-plan review system, the green savings will continue to soar. As well as with other county agencies, including Park and Planning in Montgomery County.
And we have been able to establish an electronic review process between the two agencies, which actually benefits not only the two county agencies, but also the stakeholders.
We think that this provides an excellent opportunity for others in the region to come on board with an electronic process that will streamline the activities for all of those involved.
And as more agencies look to adopt e-plan review, WSSC is looking to widen its use of this great green tool.
So eventually, we will require that all of the plans be submitted electronically, and we will be able to do all of the plan review electronically.
Thank you. I might point out that one of the stars of that video is with us today, Luis Tapia. I'll introduce him in just a moment for him to go through really the heart of what we want to talk about today. But I just think that's a terrific example of the kind of promotion that many of our customers are beginning to do now, both inside and outside their organizations. You'll notice if you watch that video again, and by the way, if you had trouble hearing it or would like to see it again, it is available to watch on YouTube. But you'll see in that video, of course, that they enlisted members of the outside in the community to be a part of that promotional effort. And really, it's a great example, again, of using those kinds of tools to increase the adoption around the community. So the other thing I think the video does is it's a really good reminder of the benefits that ProjectDox and the processes that go around it bring to an organization. Some of them are listed here. These popped out of the video, and hopefully those of you who are ProjectDox customers are enjoying some of these benefits today. But I think really the key here is these are potential benefits only to the extent that ProjectDox is assimilated and fully adopted around the community. So there's a time to value equation that's really important here, and our job is to accelerate the time to value, which means improving and accelerating the adoption of ProjectDox both inside your organizations and outside. And one of the challenges I think we all face, we face it as vendors, you face it as users, whether you're in the end user organizations or in information technologies, is that this isn't the only technology that's being rolled out in your organizations today. There are multiple solutions and systems and technologies that you've invested in that are being deployed and are in various stages of implementation. So in a sense, we do sort of compete for mind share a lot of times, again, both inside and outside the community. So that's a challenge. User adoption across this industry, across technologies, is a very well understood challenge. There's been a lot of academic articles written about the adoption curve. This is a slide from one of those articles. This analysis of technology adoption has been going on since the late 60s and 70s, frankly, and this adoption curve is well known. And what it says really is this, that promoting adoption and assimilation of technology is not an event. It's not a training class. It's not a series of events. It's an ongoing process that begins from really the inception of the project, even before technology is implemented, throughout the life cycle of that technology's use in your organization. We know now, build it and they will come doesn't work. And there will always be an assimilation gap. It's rare that you fully close it, even under the best of circumstances. So the goal really is to minimize that gap and to accelerate, as I said earlier, the time to value, which means closing that gap as quickly as possible. So one of the things Luis will talk about is the process they've used at WSSC sort of along this adoption curve from project inception to present. So, that's the question I think for everybody who's attending to ask. To what extent are adoption challenges really impacting our return on investment with ProjectDox or other technologies for that matter? And what can we do about it? What are the sources of that adoption challenge? Is it internal? Is it external? Is it some combination of both? Are there communities of users outside our organization that are less likely to adopt or more likely to adopt? And what do we do about that? And so the case study we'll present today will begin to answer some of those questions for you. And I guess the last point I'd like to make is virtually everybody on this call today is a customer of Avolve, a ProjectDox user, and we recognize that you've made a significant investment in our solution, in the business processes that go around it, in implementing it, and we appreciate that investment. If we can help you close that adoption challenge, close that gap as quickly as possible, sort of that last mile. You may be in production, you may be processing and reviewing plans with ProjectDox, but you still have a bit of an adoption gap to cross. That's kind of the last mile, and there's great return in investing just a little more time and effort to address that gap, to really get the full value, to get the full value out of ProjectDox and the business processes that it supports. So that's really what this slide says here. With a little more marginal investment, perhaps, of time, maybe a little bit of money, then you find terrific returns at this stage of the project. So to answer at least one example, some of the critical success factors to adoption and how they worked, I'd like to introduce Luis Tapia. He is a 21-year Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission employee, currently working as the unit coordinator for the Development Services Group Permit Services section at WSSC. His role there is to oversee the operations related to intake and review for either the acceptance or rejection of various water and sewer plan submittals and the issuance of various permits. At WSSC, the Permit Services Unit interfaces through technology with other county agencies, as you saw in the video, and this is an important, I think this is an important aspect of what they do, is working with Montgomery County and various departments in the greater Washington, D.C. metro area. The ability to collaborate is very important to WSSC's mission and part of the adoption strategy that they've put in place. So with that, Luis, star of the video we saw, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Great, Rob. Thank you very much.
I'll make you presenter now. Okay, you're now presenter.
Excellent. Okay, hello everyone. As Rob indicated, I'm with WSSC, and I've been here for about 21 years, and I am the unit coordinator of the Permit Services Unit. WSSC is a water and sewer utility company, and what I want to do is I want to give you a little bit of a background as to why we actually decided to purchase ProjectDox and go through the implementation process, and also some of the challenges that we faced through the adoption of the new technology. WSC has been around for about 95 years, so it was a big change for our stakeholders as well as for us internally. And I'm going to share some of the solutions that we actually needed to take in order for us to face our challenges. And finally, I'm going to share with you guys where we are today. So as part of the background, The reason why we decided to purchase the technology, it was because we process about 3,500 water and sewer plant submittals. And with those plant submittals, we issue about 34,000 permits per year. So some of the complaints that we were hearing from our stakeholders was that our process was very old, took a lot of time, was inefficient, and it was really, you know, the cost with it was really too high for us and also for our stakeholders. As you guys know, with development, time equals money. So some of the major areas that were concerned with our process was that we did not have any lack of, we did not have any document control. So that was one of the major issues. A lot of these documents were actually lost at the time that they were actually getting here at WSSC, because we're a fairly large agency. We didn't have any data integrity, and again, the satisfaction of our stakeholders over the years was something that, it was always something that we heard from them. So our main goal for us to go into this new process was really have the ability to transmit electronic plans and all documents and revisions through this electronic system. Our next goal was to actually reduce our review times. Before this implementation, we used to take about 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes 10 to 12. So it was taking a lot of time. And also to eliminate the amount of time that it was taking for our customers to come all the way here to submit those large packages of paper. And the average reviews that we have for a plan submittal ranges for between 3 and 5 or 6. So every time there was a revision to a submittal, our customer needed to travel all the way here to WSSC to submit their packages. One of the things how important it was to designate a project manager from our business side. That was very important because from the beginning, that will give us the ability to actually communicate between the business users and the system implementation team. So when we actually engage with in our implementation process, having that project manager was very important because we're able to actually pass information back and forth and also make sure that the implementation team knew about the specific needs of our business users. The same thing happened with actually carrying that message to the external users, as well as some of the internal users outside of my group, because initially we're like the power users, and we initiate this process with about 60 power users in my group. But of course, we needed to also still interface with other users internally throughout the commission who actually needed to review plans through the new system. So it was very important to keep everybody aware of actually what was coming their way, some of the pros and cons. So that to us it was very important to make sure that we have in place. So some of the challenges that we faced throughout the adoption, some of the internal challenges was, of course, with our workforce, and we have employees here that they've been here for anywhere from 10 to 30 years. It was their fear to new technology. Also their fear to learning new process workflows. And the reason why I'm saying that is because one thing that we learned, and it was, to me, one of the key factors was that when we engaged with our project manager from Avolve, he was also very clear and very open with us and said, what, guys, you guys are going to need to be very flexible in order for you guys to be able to take the best of the technology. Do not try to copy and paste exactly what you've been doing for 60 years. So it was a lot of new workflows and changes with our business process. The other fear was about the increase of accountability. Our employees knew that now through this new system, we're going to be able to see exactly how many times when somebody actually touched a record. The lack of flexibility what we did was, internally, we also established very clear and structured processes. So every user needed to do the same thing. So some people, get a little bit of a fear with that. And also the fear of review expectations. As I mentioned, one of our goals was to reduce our review times. So, they knew that management was going to be able to actually take advantage of those reports, come with the system in order for us to see how each of us were doing in terms of our review times. In terms of external challenges, again, just trying to get our stakeholders to really use the new technology. Learning the submittal requirements is part of our success, is the fact that from day one we established very clear expectations from our customers. We also implemented an acceptance and rejection requirements, very clear requirements that actually are published on our website, where actually it will tell a customer specifically which items are required in order for us to be able to take their submittal. We also created rejection fees. And I'm going to tell you that before, items 3 and 4, just to give you an idea, we used to reject about 85% of the submittals. And after, I'm going to say 18 months that we actually implemented this rejection and acceptance requirements and the rejection fee, it went down to about less than 15%. And also, the fact that we needed to train new users. So those were some of the external challenges. Some of the internal solutions, from the beginning, we have a very great communication with everyone, internally as well as actually externally, because we engage with our stakeholders also as we were going through the development and implementation process. We also, one of the solutions was that, as I mentioned before, we knew that in order for us to take advantage of the technology, we need to actually change our business process. So what we did is we actually were able to create one workflow for all plan submittals. So that is really a huge win, because our employees, they don't have to learn different workflows for each plan submittal type. We also did small training classes. We have internal operating procedures for all our submittal types. And as we bring new employees or new users, they're able to actually take advantage of that documentation in order for them to be able to learn the process fairly quickly. And we also did some training videos of a specific ProjectDox features. This actually was something that it was a huge win, because, as I mentioned before, we do have, even inside here of WSSC, we have some external, what we call external resources, people who are not only power users, but every time that something is assigned to them, they need to go into the system and actually do their review and add their review comments. So we actually developed some short videos in order for them to know what to do and how to use the system. In terms of our external solutions, again, we engage with our stakeholders, our engineers. They were part of the development process as well as the implementation. We met with them. We actually were very open about the changes that actually were coming their way. For instance, the rejection checklist, the rejection fee. We also engage with some of the engineers. As a matter of fact, that is the reason why, as it was mentioned before, as part of the video that we created, even some of the engineers that actually do business with us were willing to participate in the video. Once we switch into the new electronic system, we give them about 6 months for people to just volunteer and submit in their projects. And we also make it very clear that after 6 months was going to be a cutoff, and then we're going to go 100% electronic. So that also was very helpful, because stakeholders knew that it was a time where they needed to actually switch to the new process. And then since the implementation of the new system, we have been holding 2 work sessions for external customers on how to use the system. These are training sessions that we provide twice a year here in our main building. Some of the things that we're doing today are that we are actually working on creating external training workshops, more than the ones that we have already been providing. We have, like I said before, we have all the information related to what we require from our applicants in our website, and I will show you that on the next couple of slides. We also expanded the use of ProjectDox within WSSC. During the past 12 months, we have a couple more groups here at WSSC who actually they have switched to the new technology, so we're very excited about that. And we are streamlining processes with other agencies. WSSC, as we do the reviews of water and sewer, we also actually interface with other county agencies. So, you know, we have worked together and we have been able to take advantage of their system as well as they have, you know, are using our system as well. Here I'm going to show you, this screen shows the information that is provided to our stakeholders on our website. As you guys can see, right in the middle, we have a WSSC plan review. So here we have all the information related to you know, how to submit a project, the submittal request, we have flow chart, we have a design checklist for E-Plan, for the site utilities. So we have all the information that our stakeholders actually need in order for them to be able to submit something to WSSC through our WSSC E-Plan review system. This is actually our internal videos that we created on very specific system features. And I'm going to play this for you guys. It will take about 40 seconds.
Welcome to this WSSC E-Plan Review System demonstration video. In this video, we will be covering the measuring tools used when reviewing E-Plan review drawings and documents. The measure option allows the reviewer to take measurements in the drawing files. In order to use the measure option, a reviewer needs a graphic bar scale or know the distance between 2 points to establish the scale. To establish the scale, we will use the calibration option under the measuring tools to calibrate the drawing to the appropriate scale.
So as you guys can see, as I was saying before, we have power users and we have our external resources, and those are employees from other groups that actually don't use the system every day. So initially we did some training sessions, but after a while, you know, they were keep calling our power users and, you know, how can I do this and how can I do that? So what we decided to do is just to create some quick, short videos is to those specific, you know, features that we know that those users they will need to do when actually something is assigned to them once they actually receive a department review. Here's an example of our home screen for our WSSC plan review system. As you guys can see, we have links about the applicant guide. We have a link to our website. We also have a link to our E-Plan project plan review fees, because now we actually take online payments for submittal fees. And here's a link for another group that actually recently switched to the new technology. So what actually we're doing for the future is that currently we're working on our new electronic permitting system. So we're going to actually currently work on the integration of ProjectDox with our e-permitting system, which is going to happen in the next 6 months. And also we're working on the development of an online training program for external users, something that will be more formal. So as a matter of fact, we have already started that process, and we hope to have that in the next 6 months. And that was pretty much it from me. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Rob.
Thank you, Luis.
Okay, you have it.
Okay, thank you. Before we summarize here and open it up to questions, I do have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so you mentioned your approach to essentially cutting off the acceptance of paper plans. There's a sort of voluntary electronic submission period, and then after that, it's less voluntary. So maybe you could comment on, have you gotten resistance? Do you get questions and concerns from the community with respect to cutting off the submission of paper plans? And if so, how did you handle those?
Well, actually, no, we did not. Initially, and this is very, very interesting to me because, you know, before we actually even were looking for a new technology, you know, we were getting, as I shared with you guys, you know, we were getting all those different complaints, and they were saying to us, you know, when you guys going to go through something more electronic? So we did that, and we worked very hard into it. As a matter of fact, our initial implementation only took about 4 months for us to be able to switch our first project type. And for the first 3 months, and we actually notify everyone, and for the first 3 months, you know, we only receive about, I'm going to say maybe 10 submittals, because again, you know, the people were still having that, it was just optional. So we learned very quickly that, you know, even though people was kind of waiting for it, once actually the technology was here, they were not really taking advantage of it. So we reached out to all the different organizations and we said, listen, you know, we done what you guys were asking, and we definitely need to actually trying to push this. And so we actually went out and say, you know, this is going to be 6 months from this date. We provided training sessions here at WSSC. And again, the fact is that we also kept our system very user-friendly. And we did not really receive any resistance. I mean, everybody has been pretty open to it. And it has been a huge, huge factor for us to really be successful, because it is a nightmare to be able to trying to keep up, you know, with a paper and an electronic submittal at the same time.
Thanks. It's an interesting question. We get asked that question a lot by our customers and prospective customers, as you might imagine. And you know, what we see out there is a correlation to, you know, turning off, frankly, you know, given a grace period, but turning off submission of paper to the success of the program. And what I think is interesting, jurisdictions as you know, as small in population as Bend, Oregon, or as large in population as Chicago, have taken that approach and been successful with it. So, so I was curious about the reaction you got. I have one more question for you, and then I'll summarize and we'll turn it over to the attendees. You mentioned the external workshops, and you have been doing those, and you're going to expand those workshops. Tell us a little more, if you would, about what that expansion looks like. What different areas or topics or approaches will you take with the new external workshops?
Well, actually, what we want to do is, so currently for the past 4 years, we were actually been holding workshops here at WSSC, who are, you know, pretty much handled by, you know, our employees. So what we want to do is, and as a matter of fact, we have actually reached out to you guys for support. We want to do something more formal. So we want to actually do something that it will be more like web-based. So something that actually our customers can go online and trying to, you know, take advantage of that video, which it will explain exactly, you know, how this thing works for WSSC. And also at the same time, we want to take that same type of training, or maybe a separate training for our internal employees. So actually something that we want to establish is we have actually been expanding this technology to other groups throughout the commission, we actually reach out to our HR department and say, listen, probably it's time for us to do something more formal. So every time that we have new employees or even existing employees, whether they're power users or not power users, they can go through this, training, once a year, twice a year. So that is kind of what we want. We want something that it will be more like a type of a video type of training.
Thank you. That was helpful. So let me just summarize a little bit, and then, as I said, we'll turn it over for questions. To summarize some of the points that Luis hit on, these are we commonly see these as critical success factors to closing that adoption gap. An internal champion, and by the way, it would be our experience that internal champion, or maybe champions, does need to come from the business side as well as IT. So somebody who really understands the business impact is placed at a senior enough level to communicate that and really make a difference in the organization is key. And it's really champions, because we recognize there will be people who need to promote the capability at various levels in an organization. The pilot beta program, Luis talked about the soft implementation. We sometimes call it soft launch, but picking a subset of the external community to launch this with and get feedback and really draw them into the process so that they in a sense own part of it is a really clear critical success factor. The multimedia outreach, Luis just mentioned some examples of that with the external training they want to do, whether it's webinar-based, face-to-face. There's some combination that will be optimal for you. And again, it's not an event, but a process. And so we have helped many of our customers structure those and produce some of the videos and conduct trainings for users, both internal and external. The internal training program is critical, and we showed the video that is a great example of an approach to extending the training beyond, again, the event-based approach that Avolve comes in and spends a couple days on site training users and makes it more of a process. And mandatory paper cutoff, which we covered. And we can help. So, we just wanted to make sure those attending understand that we have experience in working with customers like WSSC, like their cohorts at Montgomery County and other jurisdictions around the country, our customers, in putting together a more comprehensive community outreach program. So it's really a program, not just training, and it includes multiple facets and elements to it. So we are going to schedule a follow-on webinar to this one with this topic in mind that will go into more depth about how we could help you do that, how we could structure the program, and some of the existing training for the community that we've already designed and rolled out for some customers. We'd like to walk through that with you in case it might make sense for your communities. And so stay tuned. Amy and Laura Schaefer will be communicating with you on the date for that next webinar that follows up on this one. And those of you who attend, we are going to be prepared to offer an aggressive and special discount to Avolve's community outreach training program for those that want to use it. So I think I've just said that. That webinar will follow sometime early next month is the current plan. So please stay tuned for those invitations. So Amy, I'm going to turn it back over to you to go ahead and summarize any of the questions and address those to Luis. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you very much, Luis. So what I want to do, it is about 42 minutes past the hour. We were hoping to keep this under 45 minutes today. So what I'm going to do, since we have about 3 questions that have come in, and Luis, these are all going to be directed to you. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and answer those in the webinar today. So the first question that we received, and I don't know how much detail you want to go into this, but whenever you were talking about the internal challenges that you face, the particular question is, did you ever have any internal reviewers or users leave the organization or move on to a different department as a result, and maybe the stress of the implementation for electronic plan review? And if so, how did you handle that?
Sure. I cannot really tell you that specifically that was the reason as to why somebody decided to retire right at the time that we went to the new technology. Yes, I mean, management, including myself, we feel that maybe was one of the reasons. But we're talking about employees who actually were here. I believe there were two that were here actually for 33 years. So, but besides that, nobody really decided to either leave the company or move to another group because of this new system. Again, I have to give credit to the fact that with the help of, of our developer from your side, we were able to keep the process very user-friendly. We don't have 50 different folders. In the workflow between the internal user and the external user is very user-friendly. So we did not really experience that because of the change of technology.
Good. That's really good to hear. I think what you said about just keeping the communication open and putting together a plan, and you sort of facilitated that entire process internally and externally. And so I think that that probably helped the situation a lot, just keeping everyone informed and giving clear requirements on what was going to take place. So that's very helpful. So the next question, Luis, is this is going to refer to the rejection fees that you all implemented externally. So were rejection fees added by statute or regulation?
It was added by regulation.
Okay. All right. If Susan would like any more information about that, I will let her type in. Now, the next question.
Excuse me, Amy, let me add that actually, and the fee was not really created because of our e-plan system. The fee was already in place. The problem is that before the system, the way that the fee was being collected, since, it was a paper process and it was really up to, we did not have an intake unit, it was, I guess, a lot of flexibility, so some people was actually enforcing the fees, some people was not. So once we actually moved into the new process and we created an intake unit, we needed to have a more structured type of, intake. So that is where we enforce, this fee way more than we did before. And we discussed that even with our stakeholders. So we told them, so, this is not a new, they knew about the fee. And we told them, you know what, this is coming,
Okay. Okay. I think that that definitely answers her question. She says that is sufficient, and she thanks you. The next question is, and this is going to be specific probably to your media options that you had there, creating some videos and that sort of thing. Was there local media coverage for WSSC? If so, was it helpful in the adoption process? Do you recommend some type of media or newspaper coverage for this change as you go through the implementation process?
Well, we did not really have a local media source that we use. What we did was we actually reached out to all the different stakeholder organizations. We reach out to all the county agencies that actually do business with us. We send out email notifications to all our registered engineers as well as plumbers do business with us, and that is kind of what we did.
Okay. Okay. All right. So it does look like a couple more questions are coming through as we are moving forward here. So we might not have a chance to get to all of these. I am going to get to this one real quick because this one, again, is directed towards Luis. And so while we have him on the line, I definitely want to take advantage of his experience. Luis, did you ever have any problems getting engineers or designers on board as far as electronic and digital signatures?
Great question. Actually, we when we first initiated the process, we were not well. Our plan was to go pretty much 100% electronic from the submittal point all the way to the point where we approve the drawings and we get the plans sealed and signed by the professional engineer. So our workflow was actually developed that way. But right after implementation, actually we were told that that in Maryland the PE board doesn't recognize electronic signatures yet. So it's something that kind of like changed a little bit the way that we actually need to do business. So right now is electronic all the way until we actually go through the approval of the plans, but and then at that point we need to actually get milers. Having said that, I also want to report that actually just last week we got a notification from the PE Board of Maryland, and they're looking into that to actually approve the use of electronic signatures here in Maryland. So we, as a matter of fact, we have a meeting next week, and we're very excited because it's been 3 years since we actually implemented the new technology, and we're happy to, I think very soon we're going to be able to take advantage of that.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you for going into some detail about that. So if there are any more questions about electronic or digital signatures and how Luis and his constituents handle that, please feel free to send me an email later, and I'll be happy to get you in touch with him. Also, just to let you know, we do have some other customers that have successful digital signature rollout plans that they have implemented. So again, if anyone has any other questions regarding electronic or digital signatures, please feel free to email me, and I will get you on board there. All right. So at this time, I think we are going to go ahead and close it out. We've got some more questions coming through, but we don't want to take up too much of the time today. What I did want to let everyone know is that any questions that you might not have received an answer to today, I will compile everything together, and I will be sure to send all of the questions and answers out to everyone, hopefully here within the next 48 hours. So also, just to remind you, again, what Rob said is that very soon we're going to be sending out another webinar, which is going to be part 2 to this initial session, and it will be more about how Avolve and how the Avolve University and trainers can help you put together certain community outreach plans, and how we can help with specific training for that, and how we can also help with videos. So that is going to be what our part 2 is geared towards. So, and there will be a question and answer session with an Avolve trainer, so that hopefully a lot of your questions will get answered on that. So again, we thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a really hot topic, and we hope that you were able to join us and leave today with some new ideas and some things that you might take back to your own organization. So thank you again. Hopefully everyone will have a wonderful day and have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.